Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. This is just a quick blurb. It's sort of an overview, if you will, or just sort of a brief discussion of the issues involved with changing a visa, transferring a visa from one passport, one's old passport, for lack of a better term, and changing it over to a new passport here in Thailand. So, for example, I'm going to do this from the standpoint of being an American, because I'm an American. You have your old passport, is getting ready to expire in 2017. You live here in Thailand, you have a long-term visa here in Thailand. You want to go ahead and get a new passport. You want to get that passport, you want to get your visa moved from your old passport to your new passport. Now, to be clear, unlike the United States, which allows you to bring in your old passport and sort of use your visa from an old passport with a new passport, which is a fairly frequent occurrence, Thai authorities are somewhat strict about wanting to make sure that the new passport has one's visa transferred into it. So it's been my experience that although they can be sort of lenient, or they have this sort of discretionary power to go ahead and say, oh yeah, I see that you have a new visa. If, say you're leaving the country or something like this, and you've got your old expired passport or your old invalidated passport with your new blank passport, it's been my experience, it's sort of hit and miss, but you can have problems and delays at the airport in trying to deal with that, because immigration, especially the checkpoints at the major airports, they're basically designed to quickly process people through there as quickly as possible. And sort of non-routine matters can slow things down. So for that reason, this is maybe more pertinent to those who are living long-term in Thailand, because if that's the case, you really need to get your visa moved over to your new passport. Temporary travelers, it's a little bit different, but for somebody who lives in Thailand full-time, getting that visa transferred is a pretty important thing to go ahead and do. So, what happens? Well, you go down, you talk to the U.S. Embassy. We're taking this from the standpoint of the U.S., but if you're British, deal with British Embassy, Dutch, the Netherlands Embassy, Japanese, whatever. You go down to your embassy, you get a new passport. Usually for the Americans, it's taken a couple of weeks. You go and you file your Department of State forms. You present your old passport. They validate it. They have a look at you, make sure you are who you say you are. Do their due diligence, and then they tell you, okay, come back in a couple of weeks. Come back in a couple of weeks, they've got your new passport there, they're going to go ahead and invalidate the old one, and they literally are going to punch holes into the pages of the old passport, and they go through the process and stamp canceled on that passport, and then they're going to hand you your new passport. They're also going to hand you a letter, and it's going to be signed and stamped by an officer of the U.S. Embassy, again, taking this from the U.S. I'm sure counterparts in other embassies do something similar. They're going to put a letter with your passport that's basically addressed to the Royal Thai immigration officials, and it simply states, hey, we need you to go ahead and transfer that visa over to a new passport. To go ahead and do that, that requires a trip to Royal Thai Immigration, their office. If you're here in Bangkok, that's probably going to mean a trip out to Chiang Watana, which is where the immigration office that services most of those living in the Bangkok metro area is located. You go out there, you fill out a fairly basic form, you take the letter in, they go ahead and transfer that travel document from your one passport over to your new passport. If you've been in long-term status, what they'll actually do is they'll actually put in it's sort of almost like a preamble stamp regarding your visa status, and it sort of gives a general overview of how long you've been in the country and in what status. It's almost like a concise version of your prior passport. It has all the information as far as your duration of stay, etc., and the category of visa. It's fairly straightforward, but for those who've never really dealt with it before, it's one of those things that can be sort of confusing. But again, the basic process is go to your embassy, get a new passport. New passport's issued. The embassy's going to issue a letter that says you need to transfer that visa over into the new passport. That letter is issued to Royal Thai Immigration. You take that to Royal Thai Immigration, you do some due diligence, fill out a couple of things for them. They go ahead and transfer the visa over from the old passport into the new passport, and you're done. And from that point forward, your new passport has your new visa in it. As long as the passport remains valid and your visa remains valid, you're in status.